He is the man who dominated world history for a century. The empire he established conquered more than 40 countries with an army of only 300,000 in just over 50 years. Over 720 ethnic groups. The total number of enemy soldiers killed exceeded 10 million. The population conquered reached 100 million. The territory covered 22% of the world's land area. But it is said that he ultimately died mysteriously because of a woman. In this video, let's follow the timeline. To understand the legendary life of Genghis Khan, the founder of the Yuan dynasty. In the early 13th century, the southern regions of China were under the control of the Song dynasty. The north was occupied by the Jin dynasty. To the west of the Jin dynasty was the kingdom of Western Xia. Western Xia and the Jin dynasty maintained a fragile balance. At that time, many nomadic tribes lived in Mongolia. Mainly the Naiman tribe, the Karaite tribe, the Merkit tribe, the Tatar tribe, and the Mongol tribe. Genghis Khan's father, Yesigay, was the leader of the Mongol tribe. In 1161, Yesigay, following the tradition of bride kidnapping, took Holin, the wife of the Merkit chief, as his own. The following year, Genghis Khan was born. Because Genghis Khan was born when Yesigay defeated the Tatar chief Temujin, he named his first son Temujin to celebrate the victory. When Temujin was 9 years old, his father took him to a friend's house for a young Temujin, and the friend's daughter fell in love at first sight. His father left him at the friend's house. But what happened next changed Temujin's fate dramatically. On the way home, Yesigay encountered a Tatar following the steppe customs. The Tatars invited Yesigay to join the feast, but 3 days after returning home, Yesigay was poisoned and died, without his father's protection. Minus 1-year-old Temujin's fate after his father's death. The power of the Mongol tribe, the tribesmen defected to the Taishid tribe. Temujin and his mother were expelled from the tribe. Living a hard life, Temujin was once captured by the Taishid tribe. Fortunately, he was rescued by a kind person and reunited with his mother. At 16, Temujin realized that to survive, he had to overthrow the Taishid oppression and seek stronger allies. So he sought refuge with his father's sworn brother, the Karaite chief Wang Khan, whom he called father. He married his childhood fiancé Bert, with the help of his wife's tribe. Temujin quickly gathered support and rebuilt his tribe. However, just as things were improving, Temujin was attacked again. At 19, Temujin's enemy, the Merkit tribe, attacked his tribe, capturing his wife and family. Temujin escaped alone. Later, with the help of Wang Khan, he rescued his family. However, his wife was already pregnant when she returned to the camp. This child would become Temujin's eldest son, Joki. Although Temujin believed this child to be his own. After his death, Joki did not become his successor, possibly because he was considered illegitimate. At the age of 28, as his power continued to grow, the former members of the Mongol tribe and some other tribes came to rejoin him. They formed a new alliance of noble tribes. Temujin was elected as the leader. After 15 years of hard fighting, Temujin defeated several other tribes one by one, becoming the most powerful ruler on the Mongolian plateau. At the Kurultai, he was elected as the new national leader, titled Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. He named his empire the Great Mongol State. After unifying Mongolia, Genghis Khan reformed the military, implementing a system that combined military and civilian administration. He expanded the Central Guard, establishing a personal guard for the Khan. He also issued the world's first comprehensive legal code, the Yasa. Once everything was in place, he continued to plunder neighboring countries. War became his goal. In 1205, at the age of 44, Genghis Khan began large-scale conquests, targeting Western Xia and the Jin dynasty. He adopted a strategy of attacking the weak before the strong, first attacking the weaker state of Western Xia, which held a strategically important position. In just 4 years, Genghis Khan launched 3 campaigns against Western Xia, eventually forcing them to surrender and pay tribute. After conquering Western Xia at the age of 50, Genghis Khan, under the pretext of avenging his ancestors, personally led his army to attack the Jin dynasty, defeating 300,000 Jin soldiers, creating the myth of the invincible Mongol cavalry. However, due to their lack of siege warfare skills, they did not capture the Jin capital. The following year, the Mongols returned to plunder the central plains, but withdrew due to Genghis Khan's injury. While the Mongol army was struggling, a coup occurred within the Jin court, plunging it into chaos. Genghis Khan launched another attack, forcing the Jin dynasty to move its capital to Kaifeng. After 3 years of struggle, Genghis Khan finally became the master of northeastern China at the age of 54. The Jin territory was split in half, shrinking by 1/3. A year later, Genghis Khan swept across the entire northeast, sending a force to the end of the Liaodong Peninsula. Reaching the Bahai Sea, another force crossed the Yalu River, entered the territory of Goryeo. The arrogant Mongol envoys also demanded a large amount of wealth from the Goryeo court. Just as Genghis Khan was preparing to completely destroy the Jin dynasty, the enemies, who had once fled to Western Liao after being defeated on the Mongolian took advantage of the old age of the Western Liao emperor to seize control of Western Liao, and in the name of restoring the country, they quickly expanded and grew. To eliminate future worries, 57-year-old Genghis Khan dispatched General Jibi to lead an army to crush them in one fell swoop. The pure land of Western Liao fell into Mongol hands, but it was precisely because of this battle that he inadvertently came into contact with an empire spanning present-day Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, the Khwarezmian Empire. What happened next would indirectly lead to the birth of a Khwarezmian Empire. The Khwarezmian Empire controlled major trade centers along the Silk Road, so Genghis Khan sent envoys to establish trade relations with them. But unexpectedly, the entire delegation was massacred. In the year 1219, 58-year-old Genghis Khan led an army of 200,000 to attack the Khwarezmian Empire. This was the first time a nomadic people fought so far from their homeland. But in this battle, the Western Xia refused to send reinforcements. This laid the groundwork for the future destruction of Western Xia. Genghis Khan divided his forces into 4 groups. His eldest son Joki led the army down the Sir Darya River to capture Jand. His second son Shagatai, his third son Get-I led the army to besiege Otrar, and General Subutai led the army to capture the upper reaches of the Sir Darya River. Genghis Khan himself led his youngest son Tului and the main army into Transoxiana. This battle lasted for 6 years. Until Genghis Khan was 64 years old, he completely occupied the Khwarezmian Empire and handed this territory to his eldest son Joki to guard. It is worth mentioning that during these 6 years, Genghis Khan's general Subutai and Jeeb, while pursuing the Khwarezmian leader, also incidentally captured many cities in western and central Persia. Then they went deep into southern Rus and defeated the Rus coalition, returning to Mongolia via the Volga River and the northern Caspian Sea. This expedition extended the Mongol army's reach to the Crimean Peninsula. It was also Genghis Khan's first Western campaign. After 6 years of Western campaigns, the first thing Genghis Khan did upon returning to the north was to punish the disobedient Western Xia. In 1226, at the age of 65, Genghis Khan insisted on personally leading a campaign against Western Xia. He marched south from the north, conquering all in his path. By now, the Mongol army had mastered the techniques of siege warfare. After clearing all obstacles, Genghis Khan sent an army to besiege the Western Xia capital, Yinchuan. He himself led troops into the Jin dynasty territory. First, to prevent the Jin army from coming to the aid of Western Xia. Second, to prepare for the subsequent conquest of the Jin dynasty. After a 6-month siege, the Western Xia Emperor Li expressed his intention to surrender. He requested Genghis Khan to give him a month so that he could prepare the tribute for his surrender. The Mongol army camped at Liupan Mountain, preparing to accept the formal surrender of Western Xia. But just as Genghis Khan was about to establish a vast empire stretching from the Pacific Ocean to Baghdad in the west, he fell ill due to a cold. He eventually died at Liupan Mountain. Before his death, Genghis Khan instructed that his death should not be announced until the residents of Western Xia had left the city and Western Xia was completely conquered. Facing the Western Xia emperor, who came to surrender, the Mongols secretly executed him. Yinchuan was eventually looted by the Mongol army, and Western Xia was officially incorporated into the Mongol territory. Before Genghis Khan's death, he divided all his territories among his sons according to Mongol tradition. Thus, Tolui inherited his father's old base, controlling the entire Mongol region, laying the foundation for the rise of his descendants. The eldest son, Joki, inherited the farthest territories beyond the Caspian Sea, but he died before inheriting the land. Therefore, his property was further divided between Genghis Khan's other two sons. The Central Asian region from the Caspian Sea to Tibet was given to Chagatai. The third son, Gedai, inherited Genghis Khan's throne according to the rules. The three sons exercised their rights in their respective territories. Gedai not only inherited his father's throne, but also his strategic vision. Genghis Khan's second-generation successors continued to reshape the world history landscape. As the saying goes, women are not inferior to men. Throughout history, there have been many outstanding women who have turned the tide. Mulan, who joined the army in place of her father, Lady Fanlihua, who defended the nation, Madame Shitaijin, who protected the country, and Mugai, who was a heroine in her own right. However, they are all classic images in literary works, and not real historical figures. Today, let's take a look at the women in Chinese history who have left their mark. The first one is Fu Hao. In the existing oracle bone inscriptions, her name appears most frequently. She is the first documented heroine in Chinese history, the queen consort of King Wuding, Fu Hao. Fu Hao's status during the Wuding era was unparalleled. She was not only unintentionally strong, but also had exceptional military acumen. Moreover, she was the high priestess who communicated with the gods on behalf of the king. The military prowess of the Shang dynasty was at its peak during Wu Ding's reign, and the general who led the troops east and west was Fu Hao. Her weapon was a 9-kilogram battle axe with double blades and human head patterns. According to oracle bone inscriptions, she personally led troops to defeat more than 20 neighboring states around the Shang dynasty, expanding the territory of the Shang dynasty several times over. In an era when battles typically involved only 1,000 soldiers, the fighting style was essentially equivalent to skirmishes. Fu Hao's highest record of commanding troops was 13,000 soldiers. This was equivalent to half of the Shang dynasty's total military strength at the time, and it was the largest military expedition during Wu Ding's reign. Although Fu Hao was a queen consort, she did not live with Wu Ding. She had her own fiefdom and property under her governance. Her fiefdom quickly became the most prosperous area of the Shang dynasty. In addition to expanding territories for Wu Ding, she also managed the harem and daily diplomatic affairs. Thus, she is also the earliest recorded female politician in history. But due to years of warfare, Fu Hao died in her early 30s. After her death, every time Wu Ding went to war, he would hold a ceremony for Fu Hao, praying for her spirit to bless the soldiers. The second person, Lazi, is the first recorded empress and empress dowager in history. She is also the pioneer of palace intrigue. A master of the highest order, she was the wife of Emperor Gaozu of Han, Liu Bang. In her early years, she was very virtuous. She gave birth to Emperor Hui of Han, Liu Ying, and Princess Liu Yuan. When Liu Bang was away fighting, she stayed in Pei County to take care of their children. In 205 BC, the Han army suffered a great defeat at Suai River. Lazi and other family members of Liu Bang were captured by the Chu army. It was not until 2 years later, after the Chu-Han peace agreement, that Lazi returned to the Han. After the establishment of the Han Dynasty, many non-Liu clan princes either rebelled or caused trouble. When Liu Bang went out to suppress the rebellions, Lazi stayed in Guangzhou with chancellors Vihe to assist Liu Bang. Xian Zihe conspired to kill General Han Din. After Liang King Peng Yue was demoted to a commoner, she persuaded Liu Bang to have him killed, eliminate future troubles, thus deterring other restless meritorious officials and princes. After Liu Bang's death, Lazi immediately ordered Liu Bang's favorite concubine, Che, to be made a human pig, and forced Emperor Hui of Han, Liu Ying, to watch. Liu Ying was so frightened that he never dared to ask about state affairs. Lazi began to monopolize power. She appointed her trusted aide Shen Yiji as the left chancellor, and sidelined the right chancellor Chen Ping. She had her nephews Le Lu and Le Chen control the northern and southern armies, effectively rendering the Grand Commandant Zhoubo powerless. In 192 BC, Lazi married her granddaughter, the daughter of Princess Liu Yuan, to Liu Ying, and successively married Le clan women to members of the Liu royal family, to keep them under surveillance. She also sought to grant titles to the Le clan, thus beginning the precedent of foreign clans holding power in the Han Dynasty. After Liu Ying's death, Lazi installed Prince Liu Gong as emperor, and ruled as regent, exercising imperial authority. All court orders came from the Empress Dowager. She became the first Empress Dowager to hold power in China. Lazi held power for 15 years, during which she implemented reforms, and pursued a policy of rest and recuperation for the people, bringing stability to the realm, laying a solid foundation for the rule of Emperor Wen and Emperor Jing. However, Lazi's strong-handed tactics and fierce style set an example for future empresses who would dominate the empire. The third figure is Lady Xian of the Southern and Northern Dynasties period. She was the leader of the Lingnan tribes during the Liang, Qin, and Sizai dynasties. Known in history as Lady of the State of Jia, from a young age, she was known for her wisdom and strategy. At the age of 23, she inherited the position of chief of her clan. In just over a decade, she unified the Nanhai Islands. Even during dynastic changes, she never sought to establish herself as a ruler. She consistently upheld national unity and ethnic solidarity. Throughout her life, she assessed situations carefully and ensured the people's well-being, leading her people to restore the Liang, Qin, and Sizai dynasties. She was honored by 7 emperors of the 3 dynasties, and revered as the Holy Mother by the counties of Lingnan. Her biography is recorded in the Book of Sui and History of the Northern Dynasties. Praised her as the first heroine of China. The fourth figure is Wu Zhao, also known as Wu Zixin. She is the only legitimate female emperor in Chinese history, and the emperor with the most reign titles. Her father, Wu Shihuo, was a meritorious official of Emperor Taizong of Tang, Li Shimin, promoted to the position of Shangshu, granted the title of Duke of England. At the age of 14, due to her outstanding appearance, Wu Zixin was taken into the harem by Li Shimin, conferred the title of 5th-ranked talented lady. Number 4, charming. After Li Shimin's death, Wu Zixin entered the harem of Emperor Gaozong of Tang, Li Zi, became the 2nd-ranked Zhao Yi. She was not only Li Zi's favorite concubine, but also his political ally. With her help, Li Zi achieved centralized power through the Fei Wang Li Wu incident, severely weakened the Guanlong group, completely changed the situation of weak imperial power since the Wei, Jin, Southern, and Northern dynasties had a significant impact on the course of Chinese history. In Gaozong's later years, Wu Zixin and he were jointly called the Two Saints. Before Gaozong's death, he decreed that Crown Prince Li Xian should succeed him. Major state affairs that could not be decided by the emperor were to be decided by the empress. Shortly after Li Xian's accession, he was deposed by Wu Zixin, replaced by Li Dan as emperor, known as Emperor Rezong of Tang, began to rule the court. In 690 AD, 67-year-old Wu Zixin proclaimed herself emperor, changed the country's name to Zhou, renamed the eastern capital to Chengdu, changed the central secretariat, the Department of State Affairs, and the chancellery to Feng, Wenchang Pavilion, and Luantai, renamed the 6 ministries to Tianyikun. Xiaqiu Dongbu even changed her own name to Wu Zhao. The characters she created, Zixin characters, spread to Japan, became part of some Japanese names. Tokugawa Ieyasu's grandson, Tokugawa Mitsukuni, had the character Kuni in his name from Zixin characters. Wu Zixin ruled for 21 years, changed the era name 17 times. After her death, she erected a wordless stele for herself, leaving her merits and demerits to be judged by later generations. She and Lizzie were later jointly called Lu Wu. The fifth princess Ping Yang. She was the daughter of Emperor Gaozu of Tang, Li Shimin's sister. After reaching adulthood, Princess Ping Yang married Chai Xiao, one of the 24 meritorious officials of Lingyan Pavilion. When Li Yuan raised an army, Princess Ping Yang and her husband were in Chang'an. She first sent her husband Chai Xiao to support her father with troops, while she disguised herself as a man in the rear, recruiting soldiers and horses for her father. In a few months, Princess Ping Yang organized a volunteer army of up to 70.00 under her command. The volunteer army was well disciplined, gaining the deep affection of the local people. They affectionately called her Lady Li, and referred to her army as the Ladies' Army. Princess Ping Yang's military talents were exceptional. Her ladies' army withstood every siege by the Sui dynasty. Thus, her fame spread far and wide. Many people came from afar to join her. After Li Yuan captured Chang'an, Princess Ping Yang was ordered to guard the strategically pass. She stationed her troops there. It was later named Ladies' Pass. In the year 623, Princess Ping Yang passed away. Li Yuan broke protocol and ordered a military the posthumous title of Lady Zhaoyang. The heroic pass still stands today. 1,000 years later, she is still remembered as a general. Princess Ping Yang became the first princess of the Tang dynasty to receive a posthumous title, and the only princess in history to be buried with military honors. The sixth Zi clan member. In the year 953, Zi Siwen, the prime minister of the northern court of the Liao dynasty, welcomed his third daughter, Zi Yanyan. However, at that time, he did not know that this daughter would lead the Liao dynasty into its most prosperous period since its founding. At the age of 16, Zi Yanyan was summoned to the palace by Emperor Jingzong of Liao, Yeluxian, and was made empress that same year. Due to Yeluxian's frail health since childhood, Zi Yanyan took over state affairs. Soon after, Yeluxian passed away. On his deathbed, he left a will appointing Yelu Longshu as his successor, with state affairs to be managed by the empress. At the age of 29, Zi Yanyan began ruling as Empress Dowager, overseeing all state matters. In the year 986, Emperor Taizong of Song, Zhao Guanji, thought the Liao dynasty was weak and easy to bully, so he launched the Yangshi Northern Expedition, attacking the Liao dynasty from 3 directions. Zi Yanyan personally led the army, defeating them at Kigu Pass, capturing the general Yang Yi, and beheading him, sending his head to the border. The Yangshi Northern Expedition ended in failure. In the year 1005, Zi Yanyan agreed to the Song dynasty's request for peace, signing the Treaty of Chanyuan. The Song and Liao dynasties agreed to be brotherly nations. Liao Xingzong Yelu Longshu called Song Zhenzong Zhao Heng his brother. Zhao Heng called Zi Yanyan his aunt, ending years of continuous warfare between the two countries, achieving over 100 years of border peace. 4 years later, Zi Yanyan handed over power to Yelu Longshu, ending her 27-year regency. She then passed away peacefully. At the age of 57, she was the Empress Dowager Zi Kuo, the legendary enemy of the Yang family generals, who all died at her hands. The seventh, Qin Liangyu, known for her loyalty and bravery. Her husband was also a general. Emperor Chongzhen left behind 5 poems in his lifetime, 4 of which praise the same person. This person was the only female general recorded in the official history of the 24 dynasties. Qin Liangyu, who had her own biography. Qin Liangyu was originally the wife of Ma Qiancheng, the founder of the Shizhuanfu in Sichuan. After her husband's death, Qin Liangyu took over his position and created the famous Beigan soldiers. In the year 1620, the Qing army invaded Liaodong. Qin Liangyu sent her brothers Qin Bangping and Qin Minping with 3 soldiers to support. Despite the 8 banners fleeing at the sight of the champion, they crossed the Han River and fought the Qing army. Although they were defeated, they showed Narachi the bravery of the Sichuan soldiers, and Qin Liangyu's Beigan soldiers became famous from that battle. In the year 1630, Huang Taiji was once again promoted to the capital. Qin Liangyu immediately took out all his family property as military funds. He led his son Ma Xianglin to the capital and defeated the Qing army at Shanhaiguan. Emperor Chongzhen was greatly moved. He personally received Qin Liangyu in the Forbidden City, rewarded him with the title of second-rank official, and his wife was granted the title of first-rank lady, and they were given for guards to honor their achievements. Soon, Zhang Xianzhang occupied Sichuan and proclaimed himself emperor in Chengdu, despite the local officials in Sichuan surrendering to him. Qin Liangyu and his white armored soldiers defended their stronghold to the death. They did not let the rebels step into their stronghold, even after death. After the fall of the Ming dynasty, the southern Ming emperor Longwu sent an envoy to their stronghold. He conferred Qin Liangyu the title of Grand Protector and Grand Protector of the Crown Prince, and granted him the title of Loyal and Brave Marquis. Became the only female hero in Chinese history to be granted a Marquis title based on military achievements. He is considered one of the few emperors in history without blemish. He destroyed northern Zhou and established the Suzai dynasty, ending centuries of division in China. He initiated the reign of Kaihuang, but some say his virtue was not legitimate. He gained the world by bullying orphans and widows. His harshness and suspicion led to the downfall of his meritorious officials. The people rose in rebellion. In this video, we will explore the life of Emperor Wen of Sui, Yang Jian, introducing you to a different Yang Jian. The establishment of the Sui dynasty begins with Yang Jian's father, Yang Zhang, and his father-in-law, Degu Din. Yang Jian's father, Yang Zhang, was born in Wuchuan Town, northern Wei. In his early years, he served under the Ursus. Later, he became a trusted general of Degu Din. After the division of northern Wei into eastern Wei and western Wei, Yang Zhang and Degu Din were both valued by the western Wei powerholder, Yuan Tai. Both eastern Wei and western Wei were puppet regimes. Soon, they were replaced by northern Che and northern Zhou, forming a tripartite division with the southern Chen dynasty. Northern Zhou was founded by Yuan Tai. Since Yuan Tai's eldest son, Yuan Ju, was only 15 years old. After Yuan Tai's death, all power in northern Zhou was held by Yuan Hu. Yuan Hu monopolized power. Old officials like Chen Zhao and others were dissatisfied with Yuan Hu's autocracy. They secretly plotted a coup, planning to overthrow Yuan Hu. Unexpectedly, the plot was exposed. Degu Din, as one of the participants, was ordered by Yuan Hu to commit suicide. Before his death, he married his youngest daughter, Degu Qilwo, to Yang Zhang's eldest son, Yang Jian. Degu Din never expected this marriage would completely change the course of history. The unified dynasty that countless heroes had longed for over 300 years began to take root from this moment. Not long after, Yuan Hu killed Yuan Ju and established Yuan Tai's eldest son, Yuan Yu. Yuan Yu's wife was Yang Zhang, the eldest sister of Degu Qilwo. From then on, the family became relatives with the Yuan clan. Yuan Yu didn't reign for long before he was poisoned for not obeying Yuan Hu's orders. Yuan Tai's fourth son, Yuan Yang, succeeded the throne. Yuan Yang learned from the lessons of his two elder brothers and highly respected Yuan Hu. The two coexisted peacefully for a while. The northern Zhou dynasty stabilized temporarily. However, Yuan Hu was very displeased with Yang Jian. Yang Jian was handsome and reserved. Yuan Tai once said that Yang Jian was no ordinary person. The suspicious Yuan Hu believed that Yang Jian would be a threat in the future. So he tried every means to trouble Yang Jian. Fortunately, with the protection of General Hou Fu and others like Hou Shou, he escaped death. In the year 568 AD, Yang Zhang passed away. Yang Jian inherited his father's title of Duke of Sui. By this time, Yuan Hu had been in power for 10 years. During these 10 years, Yang Jian carefully dealt with Yuan Hu's harassment every day. Emperor Yuan Yang was secretly looking for an opportunity to eliminate Yuan Hu, the northern Che in the east, and the southern Chen in the south were in turmoil. After years of accumulation, the northern Zhou became increasingly powerful. The long period of chaos was about to end with Yuan Hu was skilled in political maneuvering, but lacked the talent of a ruler. As a minister, his ambition was to grow. And as a ruler, he lacked the ability to recognize most of his subordinates were corrupt and incompetent. Over time, from the court officials to the common people, everyone was very dissatisfied with Yuan Hu. In the year 572 AD, Yuan Yang, together with his brother Yuan Zi, launched a coup and killed Yuan Hu. Yang Jian, who had been oppressed by Yuan Hu for many years, finally saw the light of day and Dagu Qiluo's eldest daughter, Yang Jian, was once again sidelined by the Yuan family. The Western King Yuan Xian said that Yang Jian's appearance was extraordinary, and he would not remain subordinate for long. He should be eliminated early. Yuan Yang did not take it seriously. He must be eliminated early. Yuan Yang did not take it seriously. He did not pay attention to it. However, after Yang Jian heard about it, he became even more cautious in his daily life. In the year 576 AD, Yuan Yang launched a campaign against Northern Che. After years of internal strife, Northern Che was already in disarray. It was no longer a match for Northern Zhou. The following year, Northern Che was destroyed. From then on, Northern Zhou had unified the north. The territory of the Chen dynasty in the south was small, and the court officials were indulged in a life of debauchery. They were far from being a match for Northern Zhou. The conditions for unification were ripe. However, at this time, Yuan Yang suddenly died. This changed the situation once again. After Yuan Yang's son, Yuan Yang, ascended the throne, he was licentious and indulged in pleasures. He also killed many loyal ministers. He was very suspicious of his father-in-law, Yang Jian, and intended to kill Empress Yang Lihua. Dagu Qiluo entered the palace to plead for mercy, knocking her head until it bled. Only then did the emperor temporarily spare the Yang family. In the year 580 AD, Yuan Yang suddenly fell seriously ill and died. On his deathbed, he entrusted his favorite minister with the care of his son. These to establish the four armies. Yuan Chen was only 8 years old and not Yang Lihua's biological son. So they sought Yang Jian to assist in governance. Yang Jian had little affection for his nominal grandson, Yuan Chen. Moreover, he had been suspected by the Yuan clan for many years. He had long harbored thoughts of replacing them. So after Yuan Yang's death, he began to prepare for a change of dynasty. First, he had Yuan Chan appoint him as Grand Chancellor. Then he eliminated the opposing forces of the Yuan clan princes. He was then conferred the title of King of Suai. Subsequently, he accepted Yuan Chan's abdication to Kai and ascended the throne as emperor. He established the Suai dynasty. He is known in history as Emperor Wen of Suai. At the beginning of Emperor Wen of Suai's reign, he eliminated the corrupt officials of the previous life taxes and reduced burdens and expanded the territory, greatly strengthening the national power. At the same time, he abolished the 9-rank system that had been in place for over 300 years and established the 3 departments and 6 ministry system and the imperial examination system, which had a profound impact on later generations. Under Yang Jian's diligent governance, the common people lived in abundance. Society was unprecedentedly prosperous. This period was known as the Kai Huang era. The long era of chaos finally came to an end. In the year 588 AD, Prince Yang Guang led an army of 500,000 to the south to conquer Chen. The following year, Emperor Chen Shubao of the southern Chen dynasty surrendered. Thus, the Suai dynasty completed the unification of the country. But did peace truly follow? Due to the long period of division, there was a significant gap between the societies of the north and south. The laws of the southern dynasties were always lenient, while the laws of the Suzai dynasty were relatively strict. Even though Emperor Yang Jian treated the southern aristocracy very well, and exempted the Jiangnan region from taxes for 10 years, under harsh laws and severe punishments, the common people were very dissatisfied with the rule of the Suzai dynasty. In the year following the unification of the Suzai dynasty, suddenly spread in the south that the court was going to relocate households to Guangzhou. This ignited a wave of anti-Suai sentiment in Jiangnan. For a time, the former territories of the southern Chen were filled with rebellion. Emperor Wen of Suai hurriedly sent Yangsu to suppress the rebellion. After Yangsu's brutal suppression, the rebellion was finally quelled. However, the seeds of turmoil had already taken root. Although the Suzai dynasty still appeared to be flourishing, there were undercurrents in the court, and the common people were disillusioned. At this time, the death of a woman triggered a series of subsequent events. Crown Prince Yang was naturally lecherous, with countless beauties in his harem. His favorite was his concubine Yang Zhaoxun. As a result, he neglected consort Zheng, which caused her to fall ill from anger, and she died young. When Empress Dagu Qiluo heard about this, she believed that Yang and Yang Zhaoxun had conspired to harm consort Zheng. From then on, she lost favor with her eldest son, and had people watch him constantly. Prince Yang Guang knew that his mother disliked his elder brother for favoring concubines over his wife. He changed his lecherous ways, and pretended to be deeply affectionate, loving only consort Zheng. In contrast, Empress Dagu Qiluo began to consider his mother disliked him, prince, and was deeply uneasy. So, on the advice of his advisors, and spent his days hiding important figures in the Eastern Palace. He stayed inside all day, Yang Jian noticed the crown prince's unusual behavior. He sent Yang Su to monitor him. Yang Su and Yang Guang had always been on good terms. He deliberately provoked Yang Yang, making Yang Yang say many complaints, then exaggeratedly reported them to Yang Jian. Thus, Yang Yang's political career ended. In the year 600 AD, Emperor Wen of Sui issued an edict to depose Crown Prince Yang Yang. Prince Jin, Yang Guang, as the new Crown Prince. Emperor Wen's fourth son, Yang Zu, was indignant upon seeing his elder brother deposed. Resentful. Yang Guang feared that Yang Zu would oppose him, so he had Yang Su fabricate charges against Yang Zu and harshly accused his fourth brother in front of their father. Yang Zu was demoted to a commoner. At the same time, a large number of officials dissatisfied with Yang Yang's deposition were also purged. Later historians praised Emperor Wen of Sui, Yang Jian, but often criticized Yang Guang. They viewed Yang Jian's decision to replace Yang Yang with Yang Guang as the root cause of the Sui dynasty's downfall. However, Yang Guang's capricious nature was inherited from Yang Jian. As mentioned earlier, the laws of the Suzai dynasty were extremely harsh, so much so that the people of Jiangnan rose in rebellion. In the 17th year of the Kai Huang era, Yang Jian ordered that thieves be executed in the streets. However, this did not reduce theft. Instead, it caused more panic among the people. To severely punish corrupt officials, Yang Jian secretly sent people to bribe them. Anyone who dared to accept was executed. If it were just strict enforcement, it would be tolerable. Critically, Yang Jian himself often did not follow his punishments were entirely based on his whims. One New Year's Day, during a grand court assembly, some officials wore improper attire. The censor did not report it in time. Yang Jian had the censor executed. He often beat to death officials who displeased him. Even meritorious officials and generals did not end well due to Yang Jian's suspicions. How could such a court not be chaotic? After Yang Jian fell seriously ill, he ordered Crown Prince Yang Guang to take charge of the state. Yang Guang took the opportunity to flirt with Emperor Xuanhua. He cursed him as he intended to have a disgrace to the family. Find the deposed Crown Prince Yang Yang to attack. Unexpectedly, Yang Su heard about this and immediately informed Yang Guang. What happened next became an unsolved mystery in the history books. Yang Guang replaced all the palace guards with his own men. He turned around and went to tell Yang Guang. What happened after this became an unsolved mystery in the history books. Yang Guang replaced all the palace guards with his own men, drove out the noisy women and workers, then sent Zhang Heng to the palace. After a while, Yang Jian passed away. At the age of 64, Yang Jian worked diligently, practiced frugality, established the prosperous era of Kai Huang. However, he was naturally suspicious and strict with people. In his later years, he exhausted the crown prince to cleanse the court, sowing the seeds of turmoil. History chose Yang Jian to end the chaotic times on the foundation laid by his predecessors and achieve unification. History then abandoned Yang Jian. 15 years after his death, the Sui dynasty completely collapsed. The wealth he accumulated was ultimately left to the Tang dynasty. He ascended the throne as a child. His parents died early. Qin Ao pacified the three feudal lords, recovered Taiwan, and expelled the Russians. Personally led the campaign against the Zhang for 61 years, establishing the prosperous era of Kangxi and Qianlong. However, in his later years, he fell into the sorrow of father-son conflict. So, what major events did Kangxi accomplish in his life? Why did the Nine Lords' War occur in his later years? In this video, let's review Kangxi's life in chronological order. In 1654, Azhenjuro Xuanye was born in the Jingren Palace of the Forbidden City in Beijing. He was the third son of Emperor Shunzi of the Qing dynasty. Shortly after his birth, he was sent outside the palace to avoid smallpox. He was not brought back until he recovered from smallpox. Therefore, he did not receive much parental love. This made the later Kangxi feel very regretful. Xuanye's mother, Tang Jia, was an unloved concubine at that time. And his father, Shunzi, focused all his attention on consort Dongo. The year after consort Dongo's death, Emperor Shunzi died of smallpox. At that time, all of Shunzi's sons were very young. The missionary Tang Rua Wang suggested choosing Xuanye as the heir, because he had already contracted smallpox and was immune to it. Thus, at the age of only 8, Xuanye ascended the throne and took the reign title Kangxi with 4 regents: Sonin, Suksaha, Ebelin and Oh Boy. 2 years later, Empress Dowager Tong Jia also fell seriously ill. The young Zhuangye took care of her day and night, but could not save her life. Zhuangye was very sad. He kept vigil day and night. He neither ate nor drank. He wept continuously. Fortunately, the Empress Dowager Xiao Zhuang carefully guided Zhuangye. Under his grandmother's diligent education, the young Zhuangye grew into a studious and wise emperor. Among the ministers of the time, Oh Boy was the most domineering. After Soni's death in 1667, the 14-year-old Kangxi took over the reins of government. Oh Boy showed no intention of relinquishing power. Another minister, Suksaha, voluntarily expressed his desire to resign. However, before the emperor could respond, Oh Boy fabricated a series of charges against Suksaha and sentenced him to death. Kangxi firmly opposed this, but Oh Boy acted on his own. In the end, Suksaha was executed. From then on, Oh Boy's arrogance grew even more, making Kangxi very angry with him. The two engaged in both open and covert struggles, neither yielding to the other. To overthrow Oh Boy, Kangxi trained guards in the palace, under the guise of performing plays, to deceive others. In 1669, Kangxi summoned Oh Boy and had the guards arrest him on the spot. He then listed 30 major crimes of Oh Boy and eradicated Oh Boy's faction. He completely took control of the government. After eliminating Oh Boy, Kangxi ordered reforms, vowing to stop land enclosures, restore the Hanlin Academy, and prohibit the enslavement of good citizens. However, soon Kangxi faced the greatest crisis since he took power, the revolt of the three feudatories. The so-called three feudatories referred to Pingnan King Shang Kexi, Jingnan King Zhang Jingzhong, and Pingxi King Wu Songui. They were stationed in Fujian, Guangdong, and Yunnan respectively. Among them, Wu Songui was the most powerful and had the greatest achievements. To win over Wu Songui, the Qing dynasty even married Emperor Taiji's youngest daughter to Wu Songui's son, Wu Yingshang. In 1673, Pingnan King Shang Kexi, due to conflicts with his son, returned to Liaodong on his own. Kangxi took the opportunity to demand Shang Kexi's resignation. Soon after, Wu Songui and Zhang Jingzhong also requested to resign. This was naturally a test of the Qing dynasty's response. Kangxi believed that Wu Songui would rebel sooner or later, so he issued an edict ordering Wu Songui and Zhang Jingzhong to resign. He also sent envoys to take over. As expected, Wu Songui raised an army in rebellion. He proclaimed himself king of Zhou, and Zhang Jingzhong also raised an army in response. They quickly swept through Yunnan, Guizhou, Hunan, and other areas. Kangxi was caught off guard. However, by this time, Wu Songui was already old. Although he was still strong, he hesitated and did not advance. Kangxi ordered the execution of Wu Yingshang and his father. He sent several armies to counterattack Wu Songui. Gradually, they regained the lost territories. In 1677, Zhang Jingzhong and Shang Jixin surrendered to the Qing dynasty. Wu Songui was at the end of his rope. The following year, after proclaiming himself emperor, he soon fell ill and died. His grandson, Wu Shifan, was defeated and committed suicide. Zhang Jingzhong and others were also executed by the Qing dynasty. The revolt of the three feudatories was quelled. After the revolt of the three feudatories was completely suppressed, the admiral of the navy led 20,000 soldiers and 300 warships to Taiwan. In the Battle of Penghu, they annihilated the elite forces of the Zheng army. Zheng Keshuang, the grandson of Zheng Chenggong, surrendered Taiwan. The Qing dynasty established one prefecture and 3 counties in Taiwan. Taiwan was incorporated into the central government's jurisdiction. While pacifying Taiwan, Kangxi did not forget that there was a powerful and formidable neighbor to the north of the Qing dynasty, Russia. Since the 17th century, Tsarist Russia had been expanding eastward, encroaching on the Heilongjiang region, and establishing fortresses and strongholds. In 1683, Kangxi ordered the expulsion of the Russian invaders. The strongholds established by the Russians were burned down. Only the isolated city of Yaksa remained. However, the Russians turned a deaf ear and continued to plunder the area. They were driven away by the Qing army. 2 years later, the Russians returned. Kangxi sent troops to besiege Yaksa. In Moscow, Regent Sophia ordered a retreat. In 1689, they demarcated the border with the Qing dynasty and signed the Treaty of Nerchinsk. After resolving the Russian threat, the power of the Dzungar Khanate also grew stronger. The Dzungar leader Galdan annexed the Khalkha of northern Mongolia. and the three Khalkha tribes of Mongolia sought help from Kangxi. Galdan led his army to chase south of the desert. Kangxi personally led two armies to attack Galdan. Galdan was defeated and fled back home. In 1695, Galdan made a comeback. He attacked Khalkha again. Kangxi dispatched 100.000 They attacked Galdan from three directions. Galdan's brother cooperated with the Dragonfly. They captured Hami. Galdan's father was besieged. He died of a sudden illness for years. During Kangxi's first campaign against Galdan, Kangxi suddenly fell ill. The crown prince was in a hurry. The crown prince showed no concern for his father's illness. This made Kangxi very dissatisfied. It planted the seeds for the future struggle among the 9 sons. The so-called 9-son struggle refers to the competition among the princes. 3 of them were prominent, 4 were influential, 8 were powerful, 9 were notable, 12 were significant, 13 were remarkable, 14 were influential. They engaged in fierce political struggles for the throne. Since the founding of the Qing dynasty, each emperor's successor was chosen by the nobles. After Kangxi took power, he wanted to follow the Han system. He appointed the son of Empress Heshili as crown prince. But as the crown prince grew up, his relationship with Kangxi became increasingly tense. In 1698, Kangxi appointed several princes. He involved them in state affairs. This made the crown prince feel threatened. 5 years later, Kangxi executed Suo Etu. The reason was that he helped the crown prince plot. This made the crown prince very dissatisfied. How could there be a crown prince for 40 years? The conflict between father and son reached its peak in 1708. Kangxi ordered the removal of the crown prince's title. Although this was a blow to the crown prince, it made the other sons more ambitious. They even encouraged Kangxi to kill the deposed crown prince. This made Kangxi very angry. In a fit of rage, he stripped them of their titles. After the eldest prince was removed, he was imprisoned. After the quiet departure of the first prince, the 8th prince, Yinsi, became the most popular candidate for crown prince. The suspicious Kangxi felt that the widely supported 8th prince was far more dangerous than the deposed crown prince, Yin Reng. Thus, he reinstated Yin Reng as the crown prince. After such a turmoil, Yin Reng did not learn his lesson. Instead, he interacted with the Bei faction. Both sides were at odds and refused to give in. The court officials also chose their respective sides. Kangxi believed that Yin Reng was the culprit behind this chaos. Thus, in 1712, he deposed the crown prince again. Afterwards, he did not designate a successor. The 8th prince, the most popular candidate for the throne, encountered the eagle incident 2 years later. He sent an ailing eagle to Kangxi, which made Kangxi very angry. He summoned everyone and reprimanded Yin Reng. He also declared that from then on, the father-son relationship between him and Yin Reng was severed. The 8th prince had no hope of ascending the throne. Meanwhile, the status of the 4th prince, Yin Zhen, and the 14th prince, Yin Ti, continued to rise. Both brothers were born to consort Da, but their relationship was like water and fire. In 1718, Kangxi appointed the 14th prince, Yin Ti, to lead an expedition to the northwest and titled him Great General King. At the same time, he heavily relied on Prince Yang. In 1722, Kangxi passed away in Changchun Garden, Beijing. At the age of 69, his temple name was Shengzhou.